Hello and welcome. This is Jennifer McGuire. I'm very excited and honored to have a special guest artist for you. Today, Lea Lawson is sharing many fresh tips and techniques for foiling, stamping, and stenciling. She has 3 beautiful cards for you. Be sure to stick around for the last one. It's my favorite. Now, Lea works for Pinkfresh Studio, one of my favorite companies who does a lot of good in this industry. And Lea has been one of my favorite card makers for some time. So I asked her if she would use Pinkfresh Studio's newest release and share some ideas with you. She has some unique tips and tricks that are different than what I do and very helpful. Let's get started.
Hi there, crafty friends. My name is Lea Lawson, and I'm excited to be a guest here on Jennifer's site today. I'm going to be using the new November release from Pinkfresh Studio, and if you know me, you also know that I'm an employee of Pinkfresh Studio. So, you may be seeing a lot of me during this release if you check out all of the release festivities, but I definitely did my best to make sure that the projects looked different from one another. So, we are going to get going on the first of 3 cards. So we are doing some foiling today. This is one of our new geometric hot foil backgrounds called Modern Design Blocks. Now this is a hot foil plate, and it also has coordinating layering stencils. There are 5 stencils, and that image that I flipped around to show you is what it looks like when you use all 5 stencils together. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm only going to use just a few. But let's just go over some foiling tips first, because I'm sure you learn a lot from Jennifer about foiling, but it's possible Jennifer and I have some different techniques or ways that we do things. So maybe you will also grab a couple of tips from me. So I'm going to be foiling this Modern Design blocks in matte silver foil. And right now we are currently just waiting for the Glimmer hot foil system to fully heat up that plate so that when we run it through our die cut machine, I will be using a Spellbinders Platinum 6 today, that it will have plenty of heat to basically press that foil into our cardstock. So when I am foiling, I like to actually remove that platform from the base before I put any sandwich items down. For me, this just removes the possibility of haloing or shifting. Once I've removed it, you want to put your foil pretty side down, then go ahead and add the cardstock that you're foiling to, and then the 2 shims that come with the hot foil system. And then go ahead and run that through your die cut machine, whichever one you're using for whichever hot foil system you have. Like I mentioned, I'm using a Platinum 6 today. And just run it through slowly, gently. You don't have to rush it through. Now, I don't feel the need to run standard hot foil plates back and forth. I think the once run through works for me, but you need to test the own pressures on your own machines. You may need to run it back and forth. You'll see I got perfect results on the matte silver foiling. Now, I was going to show you guys the solid foiling, but unfortunately, when I put the whole sandwich together, I somehow creased that foil in there and didn't catch it. And when I pulled the results back, it was awful. So I cut that out of the video, and this time around, you're not going to get the solid foiling. So we are going to move on to doing a little bit of ink blending with the coordinating layering stencil sets. So as I mentioned, this stencil set has 5, but I am only picking 3, and 2 of the colors I'm using are really light. And for this first color, I'm using Ocean Breeze and just blending in all of those little areas that this stencil covers. So the reason why I'm choosing to only use a few stencils for this set rather than all 5 is because I still want to keep that clean and modern look with this stencil. And I feel like if I had used all of the stencils, it would have just been a lot. So when this set was designed by Pinkfresh Studio, this was kind of the intended use. We included the 5 stencils so that you could fully color the image in, or at least have the option to. But more than anything, it was more about having all of the different design options to color in just a couple, and then keep the rest of the image nice and clean. Now, you are certainly free to do as you please with your stencils. If you want to color the entire image in, that is totally fine and totally up to you. But I do like to mention oftentimes what our intention is behind our designs, because we have a very modern aesthetic and we are pushing the boundaries when it comes to stencils. So it's always nice to mention our intentions. All right, well, we just finished ink blending that stencil with Emerald City. That's the deepest color in this. We are going to blend in one more stencil. This time we're going to use Misty Coast. This is our lightest shade of gray, and it's really light. You may not even really be able to see it while I'm blending it with the stencil on, but I think once I remove the stencil, you'll see the color difference. And this was just meant to be a very light layer. It's not too far off from the background color of white. So we have finished all of our stenciling. Keep in mind that I didn't use 2 of the stencils because I only wanted to color in those 3 portions. All right, we're going to go back to our foil machine, and we are going to foil our sentiments. Now this is a new Phrase Builder Happy hot foil set. This coordinates with a previously released die set that we actually released, I think, a couple of years ago. Now you get a ton of sentiment options with this one. This is really kind of a holiday based, but not your standard holidays. So you get like Happy Father's Day, Happy Mother's Day, Happy Valentine's Day, Happy Thanksgiving. There is a Happy Holidays in there, so you can use it for Christmas. And then I also believe there is Happy Anniversary and Happy Birthday, of course, because those are big ones. I am doing Happy Father's Day today. I thought that these colors that I am using for this card lended themselves to a Father's Day card. So we are letting those 2 hot foil plates heat up, and then we will do what we did previously at the very beginning of this video. I am going to remove the platform from the base and kind of, scooch them back into place. And then I'm going to adhere the foil pretty side down along with the cardstock. Now, when I'm doing sentiments like this, I actually like to adhere the 2 things together to make sure that I am covering the hot foil plates correctly over those 2 hot foil plates. I always feel like sometimes if I try to put the foil on first and then the paper, when I have 2 separate hot foil plates that I'm trying to foil at once, that inevitably one of them will be off the cardstock or something like that. So I feel like for when I'm foiling 2 plates at once, 2 smaller plates like this, if I put the foil and the cardstock down at the same time, I get better results. Now you'll notice on the Fathers, I got a bit of overfoiling, and that is okay. I'm going to show you a little tip to fix that. But first we're going to rearrange our hot foil system. Now I like to remove my hot foils with a Misty magnet. You can use the tool that comes with it. That might have been a better option for these smaller ones. I tend to reach for my Misty magnet because we have so many of those kind of heavier backgrounds. And then the solid hot foil plate is also really heavy. So I feel like those remove better from the foil system with the Misty magnet. And I find myself just reaching for that pretty much always when I am hot foiling. So we are just getting the solid hot foil plate up and running. And while that is heating up, I'm just going to show you how I remove overfoiling that doesn't wipe away with your finger. This is just a sand eraser, and you can just gently rub it on those little areas of overfoiling, and they pretty much take it right off. There might be like a little tiny bit left behind that you can see, but let's be real. This is handmade and not Hallmark, and it is okay if there are imperfections. So now that the solid plate is aptly heated up, I did heat it up twice. So I went through the cycle twice because it is a large piece of metal and I feel like it needs that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the leftover foil from the first time that we hot foiled the sentiment down along with the cardstock and then the 2 shims that come with the machine. Now, this is where I do things just a little bit differently from the just standard hot foiling. I do run the solid hot foil plate back and forth. You can't really halo a solid foiled image, so I don't have to really worry about that. And I do think the added pressure is nice. Now, I noticed on this, I got a little bit fuzzy results, but when you cut it out, I don't think you'll even notice. So I'm not too worried about that. But what that tells me is that I do need to start doing a little bit of troubleshooting because it's possible the pressure in my die cut machine has changed or my hot foil system is starting to wear out. I use these almost commercially, so I am not surprised when I have to replace things. But keep that in mind if you feel like you're starting to get bad results with the solid plate. Now I am using the coordinating dies to cut out those 2 foiled sentiments, the happy and fathers. And like I mentioned, the phrase builder die set released a couple of years ago. So it's possible you may already have this. We're freshening it up with the hot foil plates in this release. And we're excited how they work with the shadow layer die that comes in the die set. So they're really easy to line up. And now I have cut out not only the standard foiling, but also the reverse foiled ones. Now, I made a little boo-boo. I put the tape too much over the foiling, so I did end up having to refoil the word fathers. But I think you get the idea of how it goes. So when you see me use the word fathers at the end as I start assembling this card, it's more perfect than the one you just saw. Now we also have this really fun new die set, alpha die set called the Jeff Alpha. This is named after the fabulous Jeff Limberg, who hosts the Craft Hour show on our YouTube channel at Pinkfresh Studio. It's a really modern, but everyday font that we're really excited. It's got these great lines that go through each letter. Now I am taking that foiled and ink blended background that I created earlier, and I am cutting the word day directly out of it. The great thing about these geometric designs is they have lines within them that you can use to help line up letter dies like this, and it makes it really super easy to line up and not a hassle at all. So once I've ran that through my die cut machine, I have these letters all cut out, and I'm really excited with the concept of this card, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it as well. So I'm just removing those from the die cut piece, and then off camera I did stack them up with a couple of additional cuts, and I did cut the shadow layer from just some iridescent silver cardstock. Now, I had that foiled star already done. You would use all of the same foiling techniques that I just showed you to also do it. It's from our Nested Stars product suite. So at this point, we're just assembling the card. I added a nice big panel of double-sided sticky foam to that ink blended background. It left some... it's sticky right where those letters are, so I can go ahead and adhere those letters in place. I'm using the lines in that foiled piece to line those letters back up so that basically it looks like I'm putting the design right back where it's supposed to go. It's just popped up a little bit for some added dimension. Isn't that so fun? I love that technique. Now we're going to go ahead and pop the outline star up as well. Now if this is too much dimension for you, I totally understand. Just take a couple layers of dimension out. You can glue them right down with whatever adhesive you prefer. and that will make the card a little bit more flat, probably go through the mail a little bit easier. And then finally, we are just going to glue down the foiled Happy and Father's pieces to finish off the sentiment. And I think that this is a really, really fun Father's Day card. I love the geometric vibe that it has. And you could use this design and this technique or idea with really any occasion. All right, even though this is technically for a man, I still put jewels on everything, so that doesn't bother me. These are our new glitter drops. These are the colors Jade and Aqua. They are fabulous jewels. We're so excited with how they turned out. They're such lovely additions to cards. I just did a couple trios here and there, and I think that they're such a fun thing. But look at how fun and glittery those are. All right, that is card number 1, friends. I hope that you enjoyed it. I know that I'm used to doing live videos rather than these recorded and voiced over. So it's possibly I am giving you too much information, but hopefully you still enjoyed seeing the process. And now we are going to move on to card number 2. All right, how about we do a little bit of stamping? Now we are going to use the new Dreamy Florals product suite. Now this does have a hot foil plate, a coordinating hot foil plate, but I decided let's actually do a little bit of stamping. So you've got these great flowers. They're all on one-piece stamps so that they'll coordinate perfectly with the layering stencils and the one-piece die. Now, I like to put a piece of cardstock a little bit bigger in my stamping platform. You can always size this down. Now, in the end, I will want to stamp this image in detail black, but that is a alcohol marker and watercolor friendly ink, so it needs time to dry. So here is a technique that I really like to use for this purpose. I'm going to start out by stamping this image in any shade. I'm using a darker gray, but you can literally stamp in any color you want to. For purposes of the video and being able to see it, I'm using Metropolis, which is one of our darker grays. I'm using our stamp press tool, which is new in our Studio Essentials line, to get nice, good, even pressure. Now, the main thing here is because I will want to restamp this in detail black, you just need to leave your stamp in your MISTI stamping platform. Now, we'll go ahead and we will start doing all of the ink blending with the coordinating layering stencils. So, the way that you line up our layering stencils to a stamped image is just by lining that section of the stencil up with the stamped image. There are alignment guides in each corner, but those are for when you're using the stencils alone. So for this first layer, I am ink blending the flowers in Sparkling Rose, which is our second shade of pink. They're just a really nice, lovely shade of pink there. These stencils go pretty quickly. We're just moving on to some flower details. Now you'll notice on the larger cluster down at the bottom, there is a flower that we haven't colored in yet. And what I have found is if you line that up nice and perfectly, the rest of those flower detail layers fall right into place. We are blending this one with bubblegum. It's just the next step up in our pinks. Now, if you are new to our inks at all, our color families all include 4 shades of ink, ranging from a very light pastel all the way up to a dark tone. Really great for all of the layering stencils that we offer and makes basically creating those gradations seamless and easy. Now, this stencil layer is really just the flower middles. So I am using Marigold, which is our darkest shade of yellow, and I am really blending it in there because I want that Marigold to show up over top of all of that pink. So we are now moving on to the greenery stencils. So this is layer number 1. It is basically ink blending in all of the greenery. Now, if you know me at all, you know that I love to use aquamarines for greenery, along with traditional greens. If you are wanting to recreate this card and aqua greenery is not your jam, go ahead and use standard greens and this card will still look amazing. I just really love to switch it up and use aquas for greenery from time to time. Well, maybe not from time to time, quite often, but you can do whichever option you want. You can use aquas or greens. All right, we have one final stencil. This is just the detail layer of those leaves, and I am using Tidal Pond. It is the darkest shade of our aquas, and it's basically just adding some nice subtle details into the image, into the leafy greenery. And we are done ink blending, and look at how fun that turned out. Now, before we die cut, we do have to put this back into our stamping platform. And I'm going to make sure that it looks like the stamp still lines up, and it sure does. So the reason that I do this, there's actually a couple reasons. I already mentioned detail black is hybrid, and so it needs a little bit of time to dry. So if you used detail black to initially stamp, and you went directly to ink blending, you would smear it. So you either have to wait for it to dry, heat set it, or you can do it this way. But here's something I am going to mention. I actually really like this technique, even if you were using a black ink that doesn't need time to dry. And the reason being is because after you ink blend over top of a stamped image, it's not as crisp as it was initially. So I actually really love to do this no matter what, even if I'm going to stamp it back in that same color that I initially stamped it in. I like to do this process after ink blending over top of just a stamped image because I feel like it makes your image crisp again. And look at that. Look at how crisp and stunning it is, and I actually really feel like it makes those colors pop even more. All right, so now we are going to die cut. As I mentioned, the flowers are all on one die. We love our one-piece systems at Pinkfresh Studio. We think it makes crafting easier, quicker, more efficient. All I have to do is line up this one die, and all three of those floral elements will be cut at the same time with one swoop through my die cut machine. I don't have to line up and tape down multiple dies and hope they don't shift or, overlap one another. It's a really nice feature, and we include that in the products where it absolutely makes sense. And then you have these perfectly cut out floral clusters that are basically ready to create a card. All right, now it's time to assemble. This is just a solid foiled version of the coordinating Dreamy Florals hot foil plate that I previously foiled that I'm using in my background. I'm also using a stitched scallop frame, our Celebrate hot foil sentiment, and a secondary sentiment from this coordinating stamp set. Now I am adding that foiled background to an A2 card base. Going to just start assembling those floral clusters over top of that solid piece. I thought this was a fun idea just to let some of the reverse foiling in the underneath kind of peek out from underneath those flowers. All right, so this is the Celebrate hot foiled sentiment that I'm adding to the front. And then I have the secondary sentiment that I just turned into a little banner that I'm going to adhere directly below the Celebrate sentiment and just glue it into place. I did pop the edge up with a little bit of foam tape, and then I'm just using some liquid glue on the side, realizing that I didn't trim enough off quite originally. So of course it's always a little process to get your card finished and get it going where you want it to look like. So this is card number 2, featuring our new Dreamy Florals set and some other goodies to help bring it all together. I have one more card to share with you that I'm really excited to share with you, and let's get right to it. All right, for card number 3, we're going to go back to foiling. I'm going to be using the new Quadrant backdrop set, which is a hot foil plate, coordinating layering stencils in a die. Now I have heated my hot foil system back up, and I've also let the hot foil plate heat up as well, so we are ready to foil. We're going to be foiling in polished brass for this card. Now I'm going to remove the platform from the base like I've done previously and scooch it back into place. And then go ahead and put that polished brass foil pretty side down along with my cardstock. Now I've realized that I haven't mentioned in this entire video what cardstock I'm using for foiling. This is the 100-pound Hammermill Smooth White cardstock. I know it's hard to find currently, so you kind of have to search for it, but I would suggest trying whatever smooth white cardstock you have on hand and seeing how it works for you. Now, like before, I don't feel the need to run this back and forth through my die cut machine. The one time is ample for me. And let's just see how the results turned out. So, as you can see, I got perfect results with that polished brass foil. And now we are going to move on to ink blending. So, this is a 4-piece layering stencil set. Now, I'm just showing you here, this does have alignment guides in each corner. Now, those alignment guides are for when you're using the stencils alone. When you're using them with the foiled image, you'll go ahead and just align each stencil to that foiled image. Now, I'm starting out with Coral Reef for my first stencil. And I am just getting all of those quarter circles, I guess would be the best way to explain what that shape is. Ink blended in with some Coral Reef. As I'm ink blending, I did want to mention that all of these layering stencils that we have created for these geometric hot foil plates can absolutely be used on their own. We know that not everyone hot foils yet or has the space or the means or the desire to add a hot foil system into their craft area. So we have made sure that you can still create these lovely geometric backgrounds, without the foiling. And so when you're using the stencils on their own, we put those alignment guides in each corner so that you know that they will line up perfectly. Now, of course, there's lots of methods for lining these stencils, and you can do which method suits you best. But we do put those alignment guides there, and they align perfectly with an A2 sized card panel. All right, you saw my second stencil coming to life. I was using Peach Fuzz for that stencil. I am now just stepping up a color in the oranges to apricot. And you'll notice when I ink blend that I like to ink blend a little deeper at one corner of the element and then kind of fade it out to be a little softer as I ink blend the rest of the image or the shape, whatever it is you happen to be ink blending. That is a personal preference when it comes to ink blending. You are free to ink blend however you see fit or whatever your preference is. Finally, we are on the final stencil, stencil number 4. I am going really bold with stencil number 4. I am using Raspberry Bliss, which is our darkest shade of pink. I kind of went with really lighter shades for the first 3 stencils. So I wanted to really give this a punch, and I thought that the Raspberry Bliss would be a really nice, bold color choice. I'm kind of doing the same thing with this stencil where I blend a little heavier at one part of the shape and then try to blend it out to be a little bit softer with the rest of it. And here is the final reveal, and I just love how this set turned out. Now, I wanted to show you this coordinating die because it is really, really cool. So it's super easy to line up. It's a little bit bigger of a die, so I like to tape it down nice and secure. But once you run it through your die cut machine, look at how cool this panel is once it's fully cut out. Now, this is an edge-to-edge A2 sized background, but when you cut it out, it cuts out all of these middles. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, there's something about me and recorded videos. make mistakes all over the place. I forgot to take my tape off of the back of this that was holding it to my glass mat while I was ink blending. I feel like it's always something, and it's not like I am new to videos. I do lives all of the time, but apparently recorded videos, my brain just goes to mush. But anyway, look at how cool that background draws with all of the inner pieces cut out. We are going to pair this with our new With Sympathy stamp set. I love this stamp set. It's a 4-piece product suite, actually. We are going to start by stamping and heat embossing the florals that are included in this set just to some vellum, and we're going to heat emboss them in white. Now I want to chat a little bit about this set while you're watching the heat embossing process. The With Sympathy set is a set that we have had a lot of requests for, and we've just really taken our time because we wanted to make sure that we did it right, because it's a really important sentiment. Now you'll notice on the stamp set, it's a 6x8 size stamp set, and there's a lot of sentiments. And we included a die for all of the main sentiments in the die set because we really wanted to make these, sending out these sympathy type cards easy and beautiful and effortless. And we really wanted to pay attention to all of the details. So that's why we included so many dies for the sentiments. All right, this is the gorgeous floral. And as I mentioned, I'm just heat embossing it in white to vellum for this card because I did so much colorful ink blending in the background. I didn't feel like it needed anything else. Now this, of course, does have coordinating layering stencils. So you could stamp, heat emboss, or foil this image and also color it in. While we are heat embossing, I am going to go ahead and also heat emboss the sentiment that I want to use to some coordinating cardstock that really matches that raspberry bliss layer that I stenciled to the background. We are going to heat emboss it in white to coordinate with the heat embossed flowers. And that white is really going to pop off of that bright pink cardstock. Now, I picked a sentiment that I feel like could be used for something other than sympathy. These are really kind of cheerful, bold colors. So maybe not the best for a sympathy card, but that sentiment says, "My heart is with you." And I feel like this could go to someone that's going through a hard time, somebody that's battling an illness, really anything like that. So I already adhered the background to an A2 white card base with some foam dots. You didn't need to see that slow and painful process. And then I'm just gluing down that vellum floral piece with some liquid glue. And then we'll go ahead and adhere the die cut sentiment down with some foam tape so that it will pop up off the card. Now, if you want a little bit less dimension, go ahead and just glue this card down with glue. You don't have to add all of the foam tape. And finally, we're going to finish by accenting this card with a mixture of magenta glitter drops and metallic gold pearls. I love to mix and match embellishments like this. I think it's a really fun added design piece. All right, friends, those are my 3 cards. I really hope you enjoyed watching them come together here on Jennifer's, world. And thank you so much for having me, Jennifer. I hope you guys enjoyed the 3 cards that I created for you using the Pinkfresh Studio November 2022 release.
Thank you so much, Lea. We love your cards. If you're interested in finding more of Lea's work, I'll link to lots of places to find her down below in my YouTube description. There I will also have links for the products she used today. At the end here, I'll have links to a couple other related videos. And there in the top right, I have a link to my Crafty News page that has all of the big sales going on this week. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.